When you've been coaching for a while, you start to see what actually works with clients and what just sounds good in theory. And that's why I love talking to experienced coaches like Erin Power, who's joining us today. She's got lots of years of real life coaching experience under her belt, and she's got a unique voice and refreshingly flexible perspective to share with us. In this episode, we talk about what it means to coach women around weight loss. I think you're going to find that very interesting. And Erin shares about how she's helping a plant-based client through the lens of Primal. If you know anything about Primal or ancestral eating and living, then you know it's based heavily on animal protein. So it's really cool to see how letting go of strict dogma can be beneficial for both the coach and the client. This conversation today is especially valuable if you've been wondering how to be yourself as a coach, how to connect more authentically with your clients, which Erin is amazing at, and turn your work into a real business. If you want to turn health coaching into your main thing, I did, like Erin has done, email the word full-time to me at michelle@healthcoachpower.com. And now let's go meet Erin. Hey, Erin, welcome to the show.
Hey, Michelle. It's been a long time since we chatted. I'm excited. Looking forward to it.
I know. And it only took us how many months to get this on the calendar, but worth the wait.
I know. Gosh, calendars. Calendars are so tricky these days.
Tell everyone who doesn't know you why you're so busy on your calendar and what you do. And we'll take it from there because I'm sure a lot of people in my audience are familiar with you, but not everyone.
Yep. Well, I am a practicing health coach, which makes me really happy. And I don't know why I said it makes me happy because I feel like I've been at it for about 12 years. It's fun to still be doing it and being able to grow as health coaching grows. I specifically work with women on weight loss, and I have a kind of a specific approach to weight loss and work as we should with a specific kind of woman. Typically, I work with a woman who's call it her late 40s or her 50s, as am I, and she's been embroiled in dieting for her whole life, as have I, and it's not working and she doesn't know what to do. And it's sort of there's a weight loss component to it, but there's also sort of a relationship with food component that I try to work on with women too. So I work with women in these very long, personalized coaching relationships to help them sort of just reorient to their bodies a little bit. I have only ever done that. I quite frankly have been doing the same thing for 12 years. I've been saying the same thing for 12 years. I love it. Maybe we'll talk about that, about how we can be really trustful and transparent with our approach and our storytelling. But in addition to that, just to be thorough, I'm also an educator. I'm a health coaching educator. So I work on the faculty of a health coaching school. I'm the coaching director at Primal Health Coach Institute. And I've been doing that for about a decade. I love training and mentoring health coaches. I'm really passionate about it. And so one of the things I do at Primal Health Coach is I'm really leading up our coach training stuff. So actually training the coaches to understanding the methodology of health coaching, the scope of practice of health coaching is something that I'm just really connected to and passionate about. So maybe the conversation could go around both those directions.
That sounds fantastic. I mean, we've had a sort of a relationship with Primal through many years. That's how I know you. And we have a lot of Primal coaches in our audience. But what we talk about today, I think, will be important for all health coaches, even our vegan coaches. I think anyone who is a big fan of or committed to a particular dietary style, lifestyle. I love the way that you balance that with reality. And what you've been doing on Instagram lately, we'll share all your information at the end for everyone who's going to want to follow you. But what you've been doing on Instagram lately has been fantastic. And is that what you meant by trust and storytelling? Is that what you've been doing?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've, you know how it is, Michelle, on Instagram right now. I don't know. I find it quite annoying because there's all these viral tactics you can do. And so sometimes you get preoccupied by, I should have some kind of incredible hook that grabs someone's attention and suckers them into watching my reel. And I can't be bothered. So for me, as I mentioned a minute ago, I literally say the same thing. I have been saying the same thing. And there's something about the doubling down on it, which first of all, there's no mistaking my message. There's no smoke and mirrors here. I stay saying the same thing. So I think there's an element of trust in that. People can trust me. You either like my message or you don't. And if you don't, well, it's fine. And also for me as the practitioner, it keeps it real simple for me. I'm connected to what I care about, what means something to me. And I'm not just going to, I'm not jumping onto fads. I have a strong line in the sand and I stay committed to it. I just think as social media becomes even more just problematic in our world, especially for women trying to be healthy or anybody trying to be healthy, they open up their phone and the first thing they're bombarded with is 75 conflicting ideas. And so it's nice to be this sort of voice of reason that's just kind of like a metronome saying the same thing over and over again. I do encourage it as a social media strategy. I am not a social media strategist, but it feels nice. It's easier. And I think the message gets across to the people who need to hear it better that way.
It's so clearly your voice and so clearly not running through ChatGPT, like it really sounds like exactly what you would say if we were just having a off the cuff conversation. So anyway, everyone's going to want to go see what you're doing over there. On weight loss, if you don't mind, I wanted to just ask you, I had a conversation yesterday with a health coach and she was like, gosh, my clients, they have more energy and they sleep better and, have these other good results and they never actually lose weight when their goal was to lose weight and then they get all kinds of upset. And I said, a lot of health coaches have that issue where the clients don't lose weight. So since that's your main thing, do you find the same? Is that a problem?
I do find that, quite frankly. So I work with my clients now in 6-month coaching relationships. So over the years, the duration of my coaching relationships has really grown. I don't know why that is. I just felt like I needed longer to get results from people. I just noticed that. So literally my program used to be 8 weeks long and in 8 weeks I could get weight loss. And now I need 6 months, right? So the thing is, maybe it's because my clients are maturing. And so now we're in this different era of life where our bodies are responding differently. I also think there's an element of I don't know, this is not a technical term, so please don't quote me on this, but metabolic fatigue, just being over leveraged from doing a bunch of goofy diets. So there's an element of we have to sort of clear the decks here a little bit, get you just feeling better, working better. And then weight loss will come as a side effect of feeling better. And also this is where coaching comes in clutch, because if you can say to your clients, if we got nothing else out of this, but you slept better, had more energy, skin was clearer, you were happier, your mood was more level, you had more energy, wouldn't that be worth it? And what if down the line weight loss showed up as a cool side effect? Wouldn't that be worth it? That's not going to land with everybody, but it doesn't have to land with everybody. It has to land with the people who it lands with. So frankly, I always tell my clients it's a 6-month weight loss program because that's how long it's going to take. And I don't make any promises that you're going to see 1 to 2 pounds of weight loss per week. We have to forget that timeline. That's fake news. We're just going to put in some work through all the feelings that we have, because feelings are the biggest thing I work on with my clients, even more than food, quite honestly. Work through all of these feelings, get your, metabolically healthier again and sort of robustly nourishing and your body using fuel better. And then I have high confidence weight loss will come, but it's going to take the entire 6 months. Are you in? And some people aren't, and some people are.
Everyone always says, well, how long is my program supposed to be? And my answer is always how long does it take for your average client to see results?
Well, actually, when I've been doing discovery calls lately, this just happened in the last few weeks. So I get to the prescription part of the discovery call and I'll say, okay, so my protocol is a minimum of 6 months. I've added the minimum. It's for sure 6 months. It could take longer. But the thing is, I've had women push back and say, wow, that's really long. And I'll say, according to my notes, you've been gaining weight for the last 25 years. So seems like it's faster than that. Not to be snarky, but let's just be realistic here. Is really a minimum of 6 months that long? And in discovery, that's what you're trying to do. There's a big element of expectation management here. I'm not here to wow you with some kind of flashy outcome. This is a relationship. We're going to be working through this together. So I'm going to be really real with you up front. It's a minimum of 6 months now. It might take longer.
I love that. Well, then you're more likely to see the results. And I loved how you framed that, or how you can frame that with hey, wouldn't it be awesome if all these other things happen? Because that is so very often the case. We can never, weight loss is really complex.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Don't get me started. It's so complex. I actually think that biologically it's not that complex, but it's, at least for the women that I work with psychologically, psychosocially, I'm really doubling down on the psychosocial aspect of weight loss, what we think it's supposed to be, what we think our bodies are supposed to look like, how it's supposed to work. There's a biological truth to how the body utilizes fuel. That's just the basics of metabolic biochemistry. But the way we think it's supposed to work is the bigger issue to overcome. That's why I'm not kidding when I say I work mostly with my clients on feelings rather than food. And I don't know if you've seen this. I've been kind of really doubling down on this on my social media lately, but there's 3 basic feelings I've identified that come up during, for sure, a weight loss journey, but quite probably any health journey, or you know what? Any personal development journey. And the feelings are frustration, discouragement, and disappointment. And I just think anything you're trying to get better at, you're going to bump up against that. If you're learning to snowboard, you're learning to speak a new language, you're going to bump up against those 3 feelings. And that's when you start to think about quitting. So I say to my clients, food, we'll get food working for you. Lifestyle, exercise, yes. We have to work on frustration, discouragement, and disappointment. So when those show up, that's when you come into the coaching call and we talk about those feelings so you don't quit. Because this will work if you don't quit. If you quit, it's not going to work. I've really been zeroing in on that lately.
When you said that, I thought to myself, that's exactly what health coaches go through too in building their business. It's the same frustration. It's the same discouragement. It's the same, I think I'll quit now and go back to my other job. This isn't working. And we have to work through those.
Yeah. Because of your expertise as a business coach, I dabbled in it. I'm not quite the expert at it as you are, but anytime I'm working with coaches on developing their coaching practice, their coaching skills, I tell them, this friction that you're feeling right now is literally the exact same friction you're going to be working your clients through. It's exactly the same.
It's exactly the same. So I would love to get in a whole conversation about how you are helping these women lose weight, but maybe we should just back up and talk about what is Primal? What is this ancestral way of eating and living for anyone who's not familiar? Let's just start there, and then we'll kind of get into how you make it work for people.
Right. So I mentioned that I'm on the faculty of Primal Health Coach Institute. And so this is just by way of backstory, a health coaching school founded by a well-known dude in the health and wellness space, Mark Sisson. And actually, just a quick little tiny sidebar. I was interviewed on a podcast earlier this week or last week, and the host didn't know that I had this Primal Health Coach connection at all. And she name dropped Mark Sisson. She said, have you seen this Mark Sisson guy? He's 72 years old. He's got a 6-pack. I'm like, oh yeah, I know Mark quite well. So it's interesting because Mark is this icon of just badass longevity. It doesn't matter if you're a primal person or not. You know Mark. We all have seen the guy. He's definitely goals. But he founded the Primal philosophy probably coming up 20 years ago now, almost. And so the Primal approach it's in the realm of the paleo diet. It is in the ancestral health realm. And the way I would describe it, I hope Mark doesn't mind me taking liberties describing his approach, but it's this return to what I would refer to as the sort of ancient wisdom of our DNA, which sounds insanely kooky when I say it, but I'm going to try to flesh it out.
I think it sounds cool, but go on.
Okay, good. So especially now, and we've already touched on this, the modern sort of algorithmic zeitgeist that we're in, all this modern sort of thinking and the approaches we take. At the end of the day, our bodies are running very, very old technology. And there's a certain way of eating, a certain way of moving, a certain way of living that our DNA is expecting. And the mismatch right now couldn't be more strenuous. It's very off kilter. So 20 years ago, when Mark came up with the Primal approach, it was like, here's kind of how our DNA is expecting us to eat. Here's how we're expected to move. And some of this stuff was very countercultural at the time. It was like some of the foods in the food groups might not be exactly what we're meant to be eating. And some of the exercises that we've been doing, maybe not the best. And, even things like sunlight exposure and stress management and things like that. It was a bit countercultural at the time. It's so interesting because I think, depending on who you listen to, it's actually kind of mainstream these days. Minimally processed whole foods diet, protein forward, go to bed, get some steps, lift weights. This was all Mark's principles 20 years ago. Really have come full circle. And when you hear them, it's like, well, that's not kooky at all. It makes perfect sense.
Oh, but back then, it was the opposite. Be on the elliptical machine for an hour was the way to exercise and avoid fat and all of that.
Yeah, low fat. I was basically living on Diet Coke and rice cakes and, not nourishing. So, my interpretation of Primal over the years has really been more in the realm of robustly nourishing. And a word I anchor to a lot is satiating. What is our body wanting from us? And what if we just delivered what the body's asking for? So really picking up the signals of the body. And one of the reasons I'm really doubling down on that now is because, as I've already said 10 times in this conversation, I just think we're too influenced by outside forces. And to me, it's like, we have all the wisdom we need inside. So I hope I'm answering this question, but the Primal approach is a lifestyle approach that involves a certain method of eating, sort of a structure, parameters, we'll say, of eating. I would say probably the food parameters are probably what Primal is most known for, which we can dive into the specifics on that. But also movement and living that just is in the ancestral realm. And this doesn't mean cavemen. It doesn't mean cavemen. Okay. It just means the way things used to be. If you don't believe in cavemen, well, how about your great-great-great-great-grandparents? Like some back then when things were better for us, right? That's all. It's just sort of this ancient wisdom.
All right. Well, maybe you could just top line some of the big tenets of what it means to eat and live in this primal way. And my question is, do you think it's right for everyone? Like, would everyone benefit from this? Or is it like more appropriate for just certain people at certain stages of their life?
Yeah, I was thinking about that question a lot because in the spirit of being non-dogmatic, I do want to say no to this question. No, it's not for everybody. And, for example, an extreme example would be somebody who's in the top 1% of their sport and needs some kind of specific fitness nutrition. So maybe they have to be zeroing in on their meal timing and composition to a certain extent, or somebody with a diagnosed disease state that has a very specific nutrition protocol. I think biologically it's sound for all humans, but the thing is, in practice, is it, right? I mean, again, those populations I just described, but also if you have a moral opposition to consuming animal meat for animal protein for whatever reason, then don't do it. It's not, we can meet in the middle. We can negotiate to a certain extent. But I do have to say, there's a part of me that does think that biologically it makes sense for all humans. And one of the principles that we teach at Primal Health Coach Institute, and it just is known in the realm of epigenetics, is that we're 99.8% genetically identical, all of us, humans. So we have our human genes, and then we have our familial genes. Familial genes are what make me blonde and you brunette, but our human genes are what run us all. And there's a biologically appropriate diet for us. And I always use this example, just like my horses, and I always point because they're out the window here.
Yeah.
Well, horses eat grass. They just all eat grass. You're not going to go feed your horse a steak because you want to have a carnivore horse. It's not happening. There's a biologically appropriate diet for a horse. And there's a biologically appropriate diet for your dog and for humans as well. So I do think that biologically it's pretty sound for all humans, but it might not be in practice, and that matters.
Well, okay, so would you or do you take on clients who are plant-based, who are against consuming meat for whatever their reasons are? Is that a client you'll take?
I won't, but I did by accident. So shout out to Jenny, who might be listening to this, who made it the whole way through the discovery process, signed up for my program. We're working together. 2 weeks in, she's like, "Oh, by the way, I'm plant-based." And I said, I don't know. I don't know how this will work because I really do. I do have I personally, as a health coach, have a strong animal protein forward approach. But it's working. We're making it work. She'll come to the coaching calls and talk about the kind of vegan proteins she's eating, and she's still following the parameters. She's just using the foods that she feels better about. And she really is a moral vegan. It's moral for her. Doesn't want to eat animals. It's working. So that was a bit of a come to Jesus, I guess, for me, because for the longest time, I wouldn't have taken, the only reason I would have taken a plant-based person is because I didn't think they were going to be able to get enough protein to satisfy the parameters of my version of Primal. But she's thriving. So maybe I'll have to revisit that.
I love that because I hear, and on both sides, we have plant-based health coaches, and like that's all they're going to do. And they're not going to work with someone who's like this and vice versa. And it creates such a divide when, we almost always can split the difference. So that's really cool to hear. And I think you're a perfect example of someone who is like very, I don't want to use the word entrenched, but you're very in this whole primal and ancestral thing. And at the same time, the way you talk about it, I don't feel like you're thumping a Bible over my head, making me like have to believe in this one way of eating. You speak in very everyday terms that like every woman would relate to. So how do you walk that line?
No, I think that's really cool observation because I bet you 15 years ago when I started doing this, when I found the primal approach, because I myself had become pre-diabetic, which was crazy. So I was trying to figure out how to resolve this metabolic dysfunction. And that's how I found this ancestral approach and just dabbled in it to see if it was going to help me. And it did. So then I was evangelical and super dogmatic about it.
Yeah. It's so annoying at first, aren't we?
I know. And so one of the things that really set me straight on that was, and this is going to sound so, I don't even know, snobby or something or name dropping, but I went to Mark's house. Okay. So the first time I got to like really hang out with Mark, it was at his house for some meetings that we had. And he had a catered dinner brought in. And it was like, there's meat and there's vegetables and there was bread and there was chickpeas and lentils and beans and grains. And I was like, Mark, what are we doing here? Like, I thought grains and beans were off limits for the primal approach, because that's one of the nutritional philosophies, is the idea that some foods maybe aren't ideal for us, biologically. And he was kind of like, eh. And the thing is that Mark is the least dogmatic guy, like the founder of the principle is. And so as soon as I saw that, and he's obviously thriving, it occurred to me that he uses this phrase called like the minimum effective dose, which he kind of borrowed from pharmaceuticals, but it's like, what is the minimum effective dose of healthy eating and food fixation and a body obsession and micromanagement that I can do, the least amount of that while still getting great results? And that's the sweet spot.
Wow, you would never expect that from the founder of Primal to be like, yeah, whatever. Have some grains, have some bread, have some beans.
Listen, of all the primal health coaches I've met a lot of them, Mark is the least dogmatic primal guy of all the primal people I've met. But like, I go back to what I said, which is it's absolutely working for him, because we can be the most dialed in, nutritionally perfect thing on planet Earth. But if like we're not having fun and we're not living our lives, we're human beings having a lived experience. And Mark does that. Mark plays. Mark has a glass of wine with his steak, despite it being a literal poison where there's no safe amount and all the stuff you're hearing on that. Like it doesn't make sense. It's not realistic. It's got to be a realistic approach, something that somebody can do. And there's the outliers who are very good at being dogmatic and strict, but that's not most of us. That's not me. I'm definitely not that person. I'm not good at being strict. I don't want to be. So it's really been interesting to soften my own evangelism, I suppose, and just sort of relax into this approach of it. And it still works amazingly.
It's reminding me of, this one particular party I remember being at, but there were so many friends, community members there. And I was very purposefully eating like several slices of pizza because I really needed people to know. And I feel like every health coach could benefit from just a little bit of this. When people think that you are like perfect all the time, it's a huge turnoff.
Yeah.
They don't want to talk to you. They're embarrassed of whatever they're doing, eating, whatever. They don't want to hire you. They don't want to be judged by you. So it's really important to be human. So like I probably ate like 4 slices of pizza at that party just because I was
to prove a point.
Yes, to prove a point. Exactly. And I think that no matter what your dietary style is, whatever, area you're coming from, do try to be human. It's such a great way to relate to other humans.
I think so. But, I completely agree with you. And, ultimately, every health coach has their expertise and their mission, their passion, the type of person they help. And there are lots of health coaches that want to be the very on point, very strict, very dialed in. And there are clients who gravitate toward that. Not my clients, though. So it doesn't serve me to be that kind of person. You know what I mean? Like I tell my clients all the time, I treat myself whenever I want. I treat myself to whatever I want, whenever I want. I just don't want to that much. Like I've just kind of gotten to this point where it feels good to be healthy. Most of the time I like to opt into supportive food and lifestyle choices. But if I want a treat, I'll just go have it and like literally not even bat an eyelash about it. And that's actually astonishing to some people who think we have to be perfect. So I love that you went and just made yourself sick eating pizza to improve. Like, we don't have to be perfect. Like, we have to live our lives, and we're going to eat pizza. Like, it's not like we're never eating pizza again, or we're never going to slice a birthday cake again. It's like, it's not happening. So why would we pretend that's how it has to be?
Wow, I love that. Yeah, I'm sure people are coming to you saying, okay, I want to lose weight, and you have a system, and just tell me what to eat. And given that, plus this idea of maybe not eating so many grains or beans and whatnot, how do you balance helping people figure out what to eat or not eat and staying within scope of practice as a health coach?
So I love talking about scope of practice. I'm so glad we're going here. But so first of all, it is very within scope of practice to make food suggestions to clients. Okay, so this is where it gets a little muddy because meal plans are not in the purview of a health coach. I think people are surprised by that. The meal plans are fully in the realm of the dietitian. Even a personal trainer that gives you a meal plan shouldn't be doing that. Anyway, I think it's a bit of a gray area. No one's cracking down on it. But what we can do is we can educate and offer resources. So what I've done over the years, though, is so I take this primal approach. I think the way we might look at it is, well, here's all the things you can't eat. And maybe that's how I started, like no grains, no beans, whatever it may be. Dairy is kind of on the bubble for Primal. But instead, what I've done over the years, because that doesn't really resonate with people very well, at least not my clientele. It's like, well, here's what you can eat. Here's the benefit of having animal protein. Here's the benefit of healthy amounts of dietary fat. Here's what fiber does in the body. Here's what plants, Then we can talk about, for example, I had a client this past week who, she came to me and she wanted to lose weight, but she also had this persistent bloating. She'd wake up in the morning bloated. And that's not normal. We can say, that's probably not a normal digestive situation, something going on there. I said, we can work on that. Let's just get some good eating habits in place, and then we'll maybe zero in on this bloating and see if we can do something there with that later. So had her introduce a bit more animal protein. I have this method of eating where it's sort of like meal timing. I want women to eat breakfast. I'm over the fasting. I'm over the collagen coffee. Let's have a proper breakfast. Let's just eat food. Let's actually freaking nourish ourselves. So I'm teaching people how to eat, how to feel hunger and then eat. And that's basic. That's health coaching 101. Here's what hunger is. Here's how you answer hunger. There's nothing prescriptive about that. It's hunger. Once she's gotten those habits down pat and she's starting to feel better, she said to me, I'd be curious to know what we can do about this bloating that I've got, because I'd really like to get that going. And then what I can say is, well, sometimes what happens is people have certain things in their diets that just irritate their gut a little bit. We don't necessarily know why, but sometimes what can be helpful is if we practice taking a few things out of the diet just to see what might be causing it. So this kind of language is one of the ways we stay in scope, right? Well, sometimes what people notice is they might have I might say, for example, I've learned that I have a sensitivity to corn. And when I eat corn, I get very bloated. So what we can do is we can work on just running some experiments. Let's try taking something that's pretty commonly in your diet out of your diet if you're up for it, see if it makes a difference. So we zeroed in on a few things. She's always having cream in her coffee. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe would you be open to maybe taking the cream out of your coffee? She said, no. Mm-hmm. I said, great.
I don't blame on.
Yeah. She has a sandwich for lunch every day on wheat bread. I said, sometimes people have an issue with protein inside the wheat plant called gluten. Maybe you've heard of it. I'm just offering resources, right? Not everybody, but some people do have a struggle with it. So would you be open to maybe just having a different kind of lunch for a few days instead of a sandwich to see if that could help? And she said, I think I could do that. Great. What would you have for lunch instead? Well, I could have leftovers from dinner. Great. I'm helping her execute this change. I'm not coming down on wheat. I'm not anti-wheat. I'm just maybe we could explore this just to see what happens. Anyway, long story short, it was the wheat. She took the sandwich out and years of bloating resolved itself in a matter of 5 days. And so now we don't say, aha, you're celiac or you're gluten intolerant. Just okay, so now you know that the bread on your sandwich might be contributing to your bloating. So knowing that, that's just information.
Yeah. Well, what decisions would you, make based on that? And I'm sure she'll still eat a sliced pizza here and there, but it's as grown adults, we can make that decision. This might make me bloated. I'm going to have it anyway.
Exactly. That's my favorite thing. I call that the self-honoring choice. I've got the information now. I know why I've been bloated for 5 years, 10 years, however long it's been, forever. Yay, I'm not bloated. This feels amazing to her. And yeah, she's going to eat sandwiches again. She's going to have a sandwich someday. She's never not having a sandwich again. But now she knows, right? I know that when I eat popcorn, I get bloated, I get brain fog, and I cannot get my contact lenses in. I don't know what that's all about. Well, dry eyes. So it's when I go to the movie theater, I think to myself, I have meetings. I don't want to be brain foggy. I don't want to I'm not going to have popcorn. Just not for today. It's not the right time. Or I might say, hell yeah, let's go. Extra large popcorn, extra butter. I don't care. I know. It's just information. And not in the spirit of villainizing any food, because frankly, I don't want to do that to women anymore. And that's how I think a health coach should approach something that is inherently sort of like a primal approach is maybe on paper an elimination diet. But that's not really in the purview of a health coach either to prescribe elimination diets. So let's introduce what's supportive in the diet and then just run experiments and let the client pick up the signal from the experiment.
I love that. And people are smart and their bodies are smart and they will notice when they feel better and be able to, oh, I did this and now I feel like this, and make the decision moving forward. Also, isn't that get people out of the I cheated mindset? That whole I'm making this decision to either feel this way or feel this way.
100%. I think it's a really powerful change in language because it's not wheat is bad. It's not the best choice for me. That's all. It's like it's not a moral standing. It's just, for me, not the best choice. For her. For me, it's corn, right? It just it takes the morality out of it, the good, bad, the very binary thinking, which again goes back to, in the spirit of not being dogmatic, that's how we as health coaches should be approaching these sorts of dietary changes with clients.
Oh, I hope everyone heard that. Regardless, again, of what kind of coaches we're talking to. I mean, my goodness, these days we have coaches, we have cannabis coaches. We have, there's so many varieties of how one should eat and live and move and whatnot. But just that right there, it's never good morally or bad. It's just decisions.
Yep.
All right. That is beautiful. So since you've been doing this work for so long, and thanks for so many of these insights that you've shared so far, I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about the business side and how you've seen things perhaps change through the years in terms of getting clients. Like, what's working right now? And have you noticed anything different with how marketing and social media has changed stuff up in the last few years?
I have. And so I'd be curious to know what your thoughts are too on this, because I feel like probably even your finger's on the pulse of this stuff more than mine. But I can only speak to my experience as a practicing health coach. So I just feel like, I hate invoking this time of life, but up until about 5 years ago, give or take, things felt a little breezier, a little easier, a little more light, I guess. And you could say something that caught someone's attention and they would find that compelling enough to book into your calendar, and you'd have a nice conversation on Discovery and they'd say, what the hell, let's do it. And now people are cagier, I think, because they're just chronically being talked at on their phones. Like, they open up their phone and it's just hit a fever pitch, sort of the influencers influencing the influenced. And so your client is the influenced. They've been influenced 1,000 times. By the time they get to your profile on Instagram, they've heard 10 conflicting pieces of information. So whenever I'm on discovery calls with prospective clients, the one thing I chronically hearing that I hadn't heard before was, I'm completely overwhelmed. I don't even know what I should be doing. That's pretty new, I find. So right out the gate, I will be frank and say that it's been harder to convince people to sign up. Selling has become something that I hate using the word selling, and I'm not a salesperson, I'm a health coach. But convincing someone to take a leap, to trust me, to guide them, it's been harder. So what I've very recently been doing and realizing is that this just speaks to the need for nurture. So when I think about all the business stuff we have to do, it seems to me that nurturing your audience, whether that's your social followers, your email list, just being with them, not in a promotional way, just, hey, I'm here with you. Here's an idea. Here's something I made. Here's a free thing. Here's something I was thinking about. Just, I'm here with you. I'm in the conversation with you. I'm not coming at you with a supplement regime or a 21-day shred program. I'm just here with you, shoulder to shoulder kind of thing. I've really just changed my language. Authenticity, transparency, trust. We've all heard there's a trust recession. That's, I guess, what I'm basically saying is there's a trust recession. Nobody trusts anybody. People think I'm a scammer. I get that comment on my Facebook only, not Instagram, but on Facebook, this is a scam. It's like, working with me for 6 months to heal your relationship with food as a scam. I don't know how this is a scam, but
if I was going to run a scam, I would hope it was making far, far, far more money.
Exactly.
Like, we do this work because we love it and believe in it, and hopefully make some money also.
Yeah.
But do better if it's a scam.
I know, I agree. So like the scam thing is interesting because somebody will comment on a Facebook post and say that what a scam. And I'm thinking like, this is a free piece of content you just scrolled past. How is this a scam? But people feel like they're getting scammed all the time. That anything anybody says is some kind of affiliate code or something. So I don't know, like, this is not like, I'm not saying this is the be all end all business advice, but what has really helped me is what could I do to be the opposite of a scam, I guess. And so I'm just going to keep being me. My posts almost never have a call to action. I don't use a lot of ManyChat automations. I'm not trying to get people in all the time. I'm trying to just have this conversation with them. And I think it's a slower game. It's a longer game, but I like that. So I'm leaning in on nurture for my organic audience. I'm using paid ads as well lately. That's something newer that I've been doing the last maybe 3 years. That's a whole can of worms. That's a can of worms. I can't say for sure that that's been great, other than just getting a lot more leads onto your email list, which is always ultimately good. And then when they're there, great, now I'll just nurture the heck out of you. And the last few people that I've signed up into my 6-month program have been following me for years. They're not new. They need to be warmed up. And I don't blame them, quite frankly. So it's the long game now. The Instagram coaches are going to tell you how to go viral. I'm saying the opposite. Be the nurturer, be transparent, be real.
Be the human.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in a world of AI, which is, it's not like it used to be, obviously. Now you could be talking to a bot and not even know that it's a bot. I think shifts in technology, also the way the algorithm serves up, like literally serves up exactly what you were talking about yesterday. And it's creepy and it's weird. Like, I think that has a huge amount to do with the changes that we've seen in the last couple of years. So I agree that we have to do something different. So even things that I was teaching 3 years ago, it's like, oh, okay, the world has changed in some really significant ways. So we have to be brave. And the more robotic everything gets, I love how you're leaning into the human aspect.
We're basically cyborgs now. And I have a tremendous amount of discomfort in, I don't know if you saw, I was on a walk the other day on my Instagram stories. I was like, you know what? I got to is there an analog, like what's the most analog way I can live my life? I live on a little acreage here. It's nature, it's the country. I'm thinking of ways to claw technology away from my life. And I don't think I'd be alone on that. So while all the AI around us and apps and technology, what have you, continue to build to a fever pitch, health coaches are humans in relationship with other humans. I just think we have this amazing opportunity to be human. And that's always been my favorite thing about health coaching, is it's like non-prescriptive, it's conversational, it's client-oriented, it's person to person. It just is. And the appetite for that, I just feel my hunch is the appetite for person-to-person connection is going to be growing soon.
Yes, I think it is a big opportunity because people are more starved for that than ever before. Even though we're so connected to everything else, actual human connection. That's fantastic. Erin, please tell everybody where they can find you, especially your Instagram, but anything else that you think is useful.
I would say Instagram is probably the most useful, at @EatSimpleErin. And then I would direct anybody who's interested in what I'm doing at Primal Health Coach Institute to primalhealthcoach.com. We're doing lots of cool stuff in the coach training space and supporting coaches in their careers and even in getting jobs in the job force. We have a lot of cool things on the go. We've been in the health coaching education game for a long time. We're one of the OG schools. So go to primalhealthcoach.com to find out that. I have 2 podcasts. So I host the Eat Simple podcast and Health Coach Radio. Those are both available where you get your podcasts. And I do think long form content is absolutely an area to double down on. So I'm loving doing podcasts. I'm loving listening to podcasts. I think podcasting is a great place for coaches to grow too. And so anyways, I've got 2 podcasts too that you can track down.
You are a busy lady. I know that. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Michelle.